everyone, welcome to Sketch Club. My name is Liz. Today, while I was walking through Gallery 3, I noticed this beautiful painting. This is done by the artist named Fremont Ellis. The title of this artwork is called The Almond Tree. Almond trees can be found in places out west like California. I loved how the artist used color and texture in this particular piece. This got me thinking about what kinds of trees we have in our area. Shangri-La here in Orange has lots of excellent examples of native trees. I think we can create one of these evergreen trees too. Let's head to the studio and give it a try. Welcome to the studio. To get started on our tree, we'll need a pencil and a piece of paper. Okay, I thought before we got started that it would be great to examine the pine tree up close. So I have a branch of the pine tree here, and you'll notice first the bark of the pine tree. It's kind of rough and it's very textured. And then you have the little branches that offshoot from that. And on these branches, they have these things. These are called pine needles, and here's some dead needles here. And if we examine it even closer, we'll notice that inside these pine needles, we can even see the little baby pine cones from the tree there. Before we do ours, I want you to really look at how the pine needles go all the way around the branch. Let's draw our own evergreen tree from our imagination. All right, I went ahead and turned my paper horizontal here. This is great for landscape pictures. Now, since I'm making a landscape, I'm going to go ahead and do my line of horizon. And my line of horizon will separate my sky from the ground. And I'm going to do it right here in the bottom part of my picture. This line doesn't need to be straight at all. Now I'm looking at my piece of paper and I'm trying to figure out where I want my tree at, my pine tree. I think I'm going to put my pine tree right over here. And I'm going to start with just one single line. And again, this line doesn't need to be perfectly straight, because in nature, these aren't straight. And then I'm going to come back around and I'm going to do another line. And this line's going to taper out just a little bit more. This is our tree trunk. Great. And I'm going to go ahead and erase that little line of horizon I have right in there. Wonderful. I think I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow on this side, because let's have our light source coming in on this side of our picture. So I'm just using the side of my pencil here, and I'm going to go ahead and make my little shadow on my tree trunk. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to do much with this part. Wonderful. So this is a very bare looking tree, so let's add some branches to it. And we're going to do that by starting at the top here, and we're just going to make little branches off the top. Now, my branches are slightly and are in a V shape, and they're going up. So I'm going to continue my branches going up. Also, when you're making your branches, do some on your trunk, because this is a three-dimensional tree. So we want them to go in front of the trunk as well. And we're going to go up. And as we're making our branches, you're going to start noticing they're going to start tapering out wider here, because our pine tree starts small at the top and it gradually gets wider. So we're going to do that. Also, my lines aren't matching up exactly. So that's great. We're going to go ahead and do our lines. And the closer I get to the bottom of our tree here, I'm going to start straightening out the branches a little bit more. I'm going to start losing that V shape. There we go. And they'll just become more straight. Now, remembering that they're tapering, so it really gets wide down here. Wonderful. So now that we have our V-shaped branches, I want to go in here and do some branches that are going down too. Because in nature, nothing is perfect. So we're going to do some branches going down, and this also will really help with the three-dimensional appearance of our tree. And you might notice that when we start doing it, that we might need to add more branches. There might be bare areas, and we can do that too. Or one side of the tree might be heavier than the others. Perfect. So you might have something that looks a little similar like this. And we kind of have branches going all different directions. But now it's time to add the pine needles to our branches.
And this will really make our tree start taking shape. So to get started, I'm going to do that. And the pine needles, that's exactly what they are. They're just little needles. So we're just going to do little lines off the tip of each branch that we've done. And these lines can match up with the other lines. Wonderful. So we're adding just the little pine needles on each one of these branches. Now this process can be pretty tedious, especially if you drew a bigger tree. So you might need to really take some time on this part. But we're just doing the little needles on each branch here. Now as you're going along, you might notice that some areas are barer than others. And you can help that by doing another branch with another group of pine needles here. So we're just doing our little needles, just little lines moving away from the branches. Just like this. Okay, so I'm going to work some on this and you're going to work on yours and we'll come back for the next steps. All right, so I have done my pine needles here on my tree branches and it is very tedious depending on how many you have. But even looking at mine, I'm still seeing some of those bare spots and my tree appears to be a little heavier on this side than on this side. So again, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to draw some more of those branches with, again, some more of those needles there. And I'm going to have them going all different directions. And I might even do another branch right here in the middle of my tree, kind of going up. Because like the pine tree branch that we examined, it was all around. All those needles were all around the pine branches. Good. So you can add in more in your picture. When you're doing it, remember the middle area needs to be very dense. So that's the area where you need to have the most branches and it needs to appear fuller. You can do this by smearing some of your lines there to give that illusion and just continuing to do some of those tedious pine needles in your picture. Again, remembering where your light source is coming in. Like I said, my light source is coming in on this side. So my tree trunk appears to be a little lighter here. I'm going to do some cross hatching here with my pencil. So I'm making this side darker because my light's coming in over here. And again, I can do some cross hatching because that again adds some texture to my picture. And as we saw when we examined the tree branch, it had a lot of rough areas and some of that texture. So great job, excellent. Now you can take this picture a step further by adding another tree, or maybe you want to do another element in your picture, like a water feature. You might even want to do a little bit of a shadow down here. And I can take some of this graphite from my pencil and kind of create the shadow. Actually, the shadow would be right over here because our light source is coming in. And we can smear some here to create that shadow. If you do another tree or anything off in the distance, remember the things that are further away will appear smaller. So if I were to do another tree back here, that tree would be smaller. But if I did my tree closer to me, it would appear larger. All right, so I'm going to give everybody just a few minutes of finishing up and adding in any of those last details they might want to add in or more branches to your pine tree. I'm going to work a little bit more here on my shadow. Maybe soften up my line of horizon right here. I might even add in another little tree in just a minute. Beautiful. Think about what kinds of things will be in that environment that you're creating. Maybe it's something like you've seen out at Shangri-La before. Okay, you can tell I added my second tree here. It's a smaller tree, and it's because it's a little further back, but it's also, I just thought it would be nice to have the differences. I went and I did my line of horizon and I have my shadows here. You can add in more trees into your picture. You can even add a pond in yours, but I think I am done.
I hope you were inspired by today's lesson and that you learned how to make a pine tree and that you go out and try to create other trees. Thanks for joining me for Sketch Club. Have a great day.